I realized this back doing cold calling and working in my POS days. I could walk into a restaurant. I could just tell by the way people acted and moved who owned the joint or who was the manager there. I could just tell. A boss can recognize a boss. I could always tell who the boss was. I could just watch just for a few minutes. It's like either we do the choosing and we're the boss, or we hope to be picked, or we hope to be chosen. So I wanted to talk about these three principles. I think they're pretty powerful. These are life kind of principles as well. There's three of them. The boss principle one is time and energy are priorities over money and even identity and reputation. I'm not saying money is not a priority. It is not the top priority. It's probably the last priority. So we want to be cognizant of what are we making a priority? Time and energy are priorities over money and even priorities over identity and reputation. Beggars need approval. Bosses don't give a fuck. That comes after the energy thing. So, hey, if I can save some time or energy, I'll let my ego go on this. The biggest way I see this coming out in tapping and in sales stuff is beggars qualify for cash first. Beggars come in, oh, I hope this person has the money, or they try to feel to have the money. And almost every reason they give why a sale didn't work out is because they didn't have the money. But beggars qualify for cash. Bosses qualify for commitment. So when I watch people tapping, they're weak about asking them the important questions, because they don't want to ruffle any feathers and they're hoping they don't lose that money. But what I want to know before somebody comes into my program is, do they have something they want to change? What's their commitment to that change? How committed are they to that change? I don't want to waste my time and my energy on them. I want to do it in a nice way. Well, hey, what is it we change? How important is it to you to change that? What's the commitment level? If I can't find something they want to change, I don't even make them an offer. Why would I make them an offer? That's when I say, hey, so is now the time. So what change do they make? How committed are they? When do they want to make the change? If I can't tell what change they want to make, they have a high level of commitment and they want to change it now, why would I make an offer? Because the worst thing would happen to me is if they took the damn offer and they don't have a high level of a commitment, right? They're going to let other things get in the way. So what commitments am I looking for? Is it the right time to make a time commitment for them? And we don't want to make it judgmental. It may not be the right time. Like I lose deals, quote unquote, lose deals, because now's not the right time. With what you're going through right now is right now the time to remodel your kitchen, because your kitchen's going to be messy. You're not going to be able to make some meals. You're going to have to order some Bite Squad. Is now the right time to do that? There's going to be energy costs involved. So I want to qualify for their commitment on time, energy, their identity and reputation. And what stops people from doing it differently sometimes is they can't let go of their ego. They can't let go. Oh, if I do this new thing, if I do it in a new way, if all of a sudden I start taking payment programs, or if all of a sudden I go from charging $97 to $9,700, what will people think? Bosses don't give a fuck. We do, we recognize it and we set it to the side. We set it aside. Tracy Goss calls this the reinvention. You have to be willing to risk your identity and willing to risk your reputation if you want to make a change. And that's going to go down to how far committed you are to making that change. So the bigger the ticket things that you sell, the bigger commitment that you want, right? But guys get in their tab and they feel like, oh, I don't want to ask them these sensitive questions. I don't want to ask them these sensitive questions because I want their money. What's our practice? Are we putting energy in front of money, or are we putting money in front of energy? Because this is something you can go and do. Even if you're not in that practice, you can say, okay, I'm Noah, and I can only get 40 people on board, but there's 1,000 people out waiting in line. I am the chooser. I choose who comes on board. The worst thing I could do is bring on a serial murderer or a thief. I know he's brought on animals, but bear with me. But that's the same thing. We want to be like, there's one of us, there's thousands of them. The very worst thing I could do is take money from the wrong person. I'm not saying I don't ever make a mistake. I do, but they don't stay here very long after I realize I made a mistake. Why? Because money is way down the priority list for me. Energy, time, I say fun a lot, right? But fun is energy. That's my number one priority, fun. But we do the motherfucking choosing. We do the choosing. So if they want to answer our questions, hey, just give me the details. Hey, I totally appreciate that, but I don't let everybody in here. I want to know, is there a change you want to make? What is it change it, and how committed are you to doing it? Because I want people to succeed in this program. And a lot of it has to do with how committed you are to making a change. Where would you like to go from here? The same way Noah's not going to take no shit if he's got 1,000 people in line and they start asking him for references. It's going to go into principle too. But dude, there's only one arc. Where else are you going to go? So you can step aside and let me get to the next person. We are the choosers. They must answer my questions. Who can spot a beggar a mile away? Smell a beggar, a boss. This is why all the beggars they're all broke. I can't get anybody to do business with me. And when they come on, then they hate their clients because none of them are fucking committed. Beggars bring on the beggars, right? It's not that they attract beggars. It's they repulse all the bosses. That needy ooze that's coming off of them is sickening. Then all the questions come out, especially from a boss. You're like, okay, have you done this for anybody before? You got references? Can you show me samples? Like, all those questions come out, right? This is immediate. Principle one is immediate change. We must make time and energy our number one priority. And we need to filter and qualify for people that could waste our time and waste our energy before we ever make an offer. And you'll save a lot of time tapping or in the sales call. If you don't have to make the damn offer. Right. That brings me to principle number 2. We must engineer mini monopolies. We must engineer mini monopolies. Noah has the mini monopoly or has the monopoly on the ark. Now, the minute Noah gets some competition, you got Nancy's ark. And then if he gets more, Ned's ark, right? And then all of a sudden, he doesn't have the same leverage anymore. So one of the reasons why Tony could sell 44 people into a 5K program from a 6-page Google document is it was a mini monopoly. They couldn't get what was being offered anywhere else. He had a great spot pinch. I'm not going to give it all away. And we need to feel like if they're committed to this change in the way that we do it or the special way we do it, there's no other place that they're going to be able to go. Part of it can just be changing the offer, having kind of like Dan was saying, if you have faith that you can deliver the offer and everybody else is offering it for money up front, and you say, you know what, we can do this on a 10 pay, right? Or you know what, why don't I get you the result? And then you pay me. What? Now I've opened up my whole market, right? Instead of, I got to convince this person to give me a $5,000 a month retainer, which is going to narrow my market. Now I've opened it wide up and I get to be the chooser by the fact of my mini monopoly. I'm doing this for my separate life in 6-month people. Instead of going out and saying, hey, let me create a mini course for you for $5,000. Let me create a mini course for you and let me put some affiliate links in. Let me put my opt-in page in. Let me write a book for you. And what they're doing is repurposing. They're taking content and repurposing it. Let me write a book for you. I'll charge you nothing. Just let me put it in a bonus chapter. Let me do X or Y. And they're getting yeses super fast. But people are saying, my God, this is the easiest yeses they've gotten. I call it a risk-free proposal. We want to take the risk away from them. It kind of goes what Dan's talking about. But like, we have to know the upside and the downside. It's not that we know if we flip a coin, we're going to make it come up heads 8 times out of 10. That's impossible. What we know is we're going to minimize the loss on it. Maybe we've got $500 into each test that we do, but the upside may be $50,000 or $100,000, right? So we can just tell them like it is. Hey, like what's your usual results with a direct mail campaign? We've sent out 1,000 letters and did $50,000. I've also sent out 1,000 letters and made 0. Your results will probably be somewhere in between there. But I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I'm going to be paying for every single stamp and every single envelope and the copywriting, and a dime won't be coming out of your pocket. All you have to do is give me the head nod and the okay, and let me have access to the content. That's all your end of it. Here's your upside. It's different. That's how a boss talks. One of the most important things that we can do is engineer that mini monopoly. It doesn't mean, and it can just be where you're from. It can be your personality. If you're the only type of that personality with your stack. So you want to look at your stack, whatever your stack is, whatever you're going to help them do, and see like, how does that stack make you the only person? One of the things you can do is just change your offer to be a risk-free or take the risk out of that offer. Most beggars don't have the balls to do that. Bosses do, right? We just want to minimize our risk because we know it's not all going to always turn out right. But boss principle 3, the fuck you position. We want to set up our life so we're not fucking needy. Debt makes us fucking needy. What can we do to remove the neediness from our life? And it's probably the last one people will attach, but it's actually the most powerful one. I'm not trying to brag, but I don't owe a dime to anybody. I've got 2 houses paid for. All my vehicles are paid for. I don't owe a dime to anybody. Everybody go fuck off as far as I'm concerned. If they want me to do something I don't want to do, it puts you in a very good position. I live in Arkansas, right? Now, could I live in Maui in a $5 million home and swing it? Probably, but I don't want that drag. That takes me from the fuck you position to the bent over, and now I got to keep doing it position. So I don't want to sound like Dave Ramsey, but there's no millionaires that say, you know, I got to being a millionaire. I didn't pay off my house because I could get 10% over here. You know what happens when you pay off your house? Like you feel like you have the safety net under you. Make these bold moves and you become a boss. You become even more of a boss. I ain't doing that. And people chase you. So I'm not saying that everybody needs to go pay off their house right now or any of those kind of things, but really take a look at where are we putting ourselves in a needy position? How can we reduce our neediness? What can we do to reduce our neediness? Sometimes it's small things. We can reduce our neediness by a lot. We have bad habits. That makes us needy. We got relationships that sucking out our time and energy. That makes us needy. So I don't want to get too personal because I don't know everything, but I do know the more you can reduce your neediness in life, the more of the chooser you get to be, the more the boss you get to be, the more you just get to run your life the way you want to run it, not based off of how you think other people want you to run it. So that's like principle 3 there. And you don't have to do it all at one time. I always say that, you guys probably heard me say this a lot, but if you're going to go walk a tightrope 500 feet above the ground and you have no net underneath you, don't try and tell me you ain't going to be clinging onto that rope. You're not going to want to go, right? You're going to live your life in a more limited way than if you had a safety net underneath you. Then you're going to take some risks and gambles. You're going to learn how to walk across that rope. So it stunts our growth not to have that safety net. We don't try new things. We don't get rid of the old things that we know we should get rid of because we're like, oh, I don't have any safety net underneath me. Yeah, it's super powerful to have that. I wish I was at Zen, but it's been a fact of nature that humans need a shelter. They need food. They need water. They need medical care. And I'm probably not going to be the guy that out-Zens that. If you can take care of your shelter and your food and even income, that's why I want to have assets, like where I can always get gravel and turn it into gold and have assets that are bringing in the income, whether I'm out there working or not. But most of the way people look at that is, oh, I just need to save a bunch of money, buy stocks or municipal bonds. And that's a long way to do it. But we can go out there and find a gravel to gold situation, especially if we're applying the first 2 principles. And before you know it, you're stacking cash. You're doing $200,000 campaigns in 12 days with getting 40% of it off assets you don't even own. And then like your mojo hockey sticks even more. So let me ask this question. Does making an offer make you needy? What makes you needy? If you're a beggar, what does a beggar do?
Whatever it takes to get them to say yes.
Yeah, but
they ask for something with nothing in return.
That's right. Give me money and there's nothing in return. But if I'm willing to go in a neighborhood and I want to buy houses in that neighborhood so bad, I'm going to pay 20% over market price. I a beggar because I'm knocking on their door and say, hey, I want to pay you 20% over your market price. Are you open to selling? No. Now I still might get this door slammed in my face, right? They may not believe me, but it's like phone the sales machine. I know if somebody's got their calendar just blacked out with calls and they're either making the calls themselves or they're trying to manage a sales team and now they got other problems and I come in and make them an offer. Like what I'm offering them is way more valuable than the money that I'm taking. So if I say, hey, I'm putting some folks together and we're all going to get off these damn phone calls. Would you like to join us? That to me is not needy at all. As soon as they say yes, I'm going to qualify them. I'm still the chooser. I'm still the chooser. Great. Let me ask you some questions to make sure this works for both of us. So we're still coming from the chooser mode. The most immediate takeaway is qualify your people for commitment before cash. Figure out what change they want to make. Is now the time? Because usually I test for the time thing first around that. If you get a sense, it's going to take some time. And people don't like to tell people that. The biggest thing, we want them to be able to do the work and put in the elbow grease. We want to be upfront with them that the time commitment and the energy commitment it's going to take to make this happen. Do you realistically have that 3 hours a week with everything that you've got going on? Let's have a frank discussion around that. And they might say no. They might say no. I'm like, great. So either you need to find something else that they're more committed to. It's a bigger item, or just say, hey, when our timing appears to be off, when the timing's right, swing back around. That's it. And then you go on to the next one.